Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hucknall in Nottingham for the weekly hockey chat. Great to have your company as ever. As unfortunately, I am isolating from COVID. I tested positive earlier this week, as you've probably seen on Twitter and Facebook. For those who follow me on there, I am completely fine, so don't worry. Just a bit of a sniffle and a little bit of a headache as well. But apart from that, absolutely fine. And Dandy just isolating down here away from the wife and daughter at the minute, so just to keep them safe. Uh, as always, if you could tweet out or share the link for this, and let's get as many people in here to discuss hockey. It is going to be, again, COVID heavy with regards what's happening in the Elite League. A lot of questions around what's happening at the Panthers and their form of late, and a lot of anger amongst the fan base. I think it should be said as well, especially after that uh, pretty abject performance against the Steelers that was live on Premier Sports on Monday. That was not good at all. So if you could tweet it out, let's get as many people in as possible. If you've got anything to say, anything to discuss, any questions, please use the chat box or use Twitter at John O'Bullard. I'm keeping an eye on that as we go along. So let's crack on. And the first question comes from Adam Reddish, who is my good friend and one of the co-hosts of the Cat's Whiskers podcast as well. So evening, Adam, if you are online and watching, I hope you are. And he asks, how the heck all these postponed games be caught up on? It's looking impossible now. Is it worth axing the Challenge Cup, or at the very least, double quarter-final games up as league fixtures if the two teams still have outstanding league fixtures they can bring forward? Evening, Chris. It's a difficult one, and I think the league is in a lot of jeopardy at the minute. Another game has been cancelled tonight, Clan against the Five Flyers on, I think it was the 2nd of January. So that's now 23 games that have been postponed in the Elite League over just the past 3 weeks or so. So, 23 games to fit in is going to be very difficult between now and the end of the season, especially with the playoff final weekend set. And then a couple of weeks after that, I think the World Championships start. So there's not a huge window to extend the league. Or do they extend the league and maybe lose the British players who are going to play in the World Championships? Do they axe the Challenge Cup like what Adam is saying? Another thing I've seen is, do they take off the last two games, so play a 36 game season instead of a 54 game season? Eric Holland asked that on the question he asked, where he says, if the league has to be reshaped, just what options does the league have? With the knowledge we have right now, I think I favour cutting games 5 and 6 from each pairing, therefore making a 36 game season. I think there's real jeopardy here, real jeopardy. Because 23 games is a lot to fit in. There's obviously going to be a lot more over the next few weeks. Of that, I have absolutely no doubt. And the weeks are running out. Are we going to get to a position where clubs are going to be playing 4 games a week? This all depends on if COVID clears up, which I don't think it's going to do. It's absolutely ripping through the country at the minute with so many cases. So I don't know what the answer is. And I think the league is in a real precarious position now. And I do honestly think that the season is in very real danger of being maybe cancelled. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I would probably think now, with the way we've got so many teams in COVID protocol and so many games being cancelled, is now the time to maybe have a 2-week break to not only try and get rid of all the COVID cases, but also to then have discussions about what the teams actually do or what the league actually does to fit the rest of the fixtures in. I think there needs to be some some sort of fire break now, because let's be honest, um, you're going to be rearranging games, trying to fit them in. Then, if there's more COVID cases, they're going to have to be cancelled and they're going to be fit in later. Yeah, it's going to be an issue. Double points. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, actually. That is not a bad idea. I've not actually considered that one, Andrew. So that is, I quite like that. If we cancel the season, will teams survive the potential refund on season tickets? Never mind the loss of income from the games remaining. Not only that, no playoff weekend again. That would be 3 seasons without a playoff weekend. We all know that that is the Elite League's big cash earner at the end of every season. So that has to be considered as well. It's I'm really worried for what might happen. What's Glenn say? Could they move the Challenge Cup to after the playoffs? The problem is, Glenn, you've only got a 2-week window before the World Championships. The teams are going to lose a lot of players who are going to be playing for Great Britain. I don't see how you short space of time and still give Great Britain the preparation they need for the World Championships, should the World Championships go ahead. Keep your powder dry, Chris. I'm coming to that. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I think thinking about it now, my preferred option would be to have probably a complete 2-week shutdown now and have no games, get COVID out of every club, keep the clubs in bubbles for those 2 weeks, and then start again. And we use that 2 weeks as clubs to meet and decide what is going to happen for the rest of the season to ensure that this season finishes, and maybe even ensure the future of this league. Because I do think it'll be an absolute disaster for a lot of clubs should the season finish early again. I don't think there's many clubs who could sustain them sort of losses, and that is the real worry. Therefore, just probably stop it now with so many teams in protocol, and then start to plan. What about another Elite Series with the playoff final? I mean, there's that option, Andrew, but the problem with that is, would it be behind closed doors? Would you again be relying on income coming from webcams or web streams? And can the clubs afford that? This is the thing. Is there the money available to get through a period where teams may have to play behind closed doors? I know Cardiff are playing games. Can they afford to play more? Probably not. Todd Kelman was very specific in the interview he gave to the BBC, where he said that it is a bums on seats business. They need crowds in order to survive. And this is the thing that really worries me. Really worries me. Was Mark Rackham to finish the season, assuming COVID slows down, points percentage might be an option if unable to fit in all regular season games. I realise this isn't ideal. Yeah, the problem with that as well, Mark, is there's a precedent been set in the season that was cancelled in 2019-20. If points percentage had been used, Cardiff would have been the champions. And I think Cardiff would have every right to be up in arms if then they suddenly decide to bring points percentage in. However, it may not be an option. It may be the only thing that they can do. I think the thing is because the future with this is we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if it's going to get any worse with regards to cases, or if it's going to get any better, if it's going to go away. Obviously, with this Omicron, I don't think the the effects are as bad as they have been. Prime example, because as I say, I've only got a bit of a sniffle and a bit of a headache, and apart from that, I'm absolutely fine. But I tested positive on Monday, so I don't know. I really, really at a loss to know what is the best thing to do to allow the league to continue. As I say, my preferred option would be to have a complete 2 week shutdown now and use that time to plan. Um, Cancel it and let the trophy stay in Belfast for another year. Well, as I said, mockingly, or maybe not last time. As soon as Sheffield look like they're going to win the title, then that's the time to cancel it. Um, but uh, but no, in all seriousness, the league needs to have a full season, I think, to stay solvent. I think we will hit some real financial issues if the league does not complete this season for a lot of clubs. So therefore, I think it has to finish. Um, and I think I'm sure they are planning, but I think there has to be some serious plans made right now. Uh, so, yeah. Uh, just to take a question quickly from Twitter, Matthew Patton says, maybe sound like a broken record. Should all teams have to provide a webcast? Giants versus Flames tonight. Flames missing out on £5,000 at least at £15 a stream. The problem is the Spectrum in Guildford is not set up for webcasts. I've mentioned this. I have mentioned this on here before. I've done some broadcasting from there on another event from that, and we had to take a shed load of 4G boxes just to get a stream signal out. So it's not actually that Guildford don't want to provide a webcast. It's just that the infrastructure isn't there to provide one, unfortunately. But thanks for the question, Matthew. Okay, to continue on COVID, and this one comes from Chris Lovell and relates to what's just happened over Boxing Day and Bank Holiday Monday. And he says, given the rumours around Steelers players over a week ago and the numbers with COVID symptoms, should questions be asked about the fact that the Boxing Day and the 27th fixture went ahead? Also, tests being done after a game rather than prior to it. Questionable, surely. Let's be honest, neither Black or Smith were going to put their lucrative paydays in jeopardy, were they? Yes. This is an interesting one. So, for those that don't know, the Sheffield Steelers have gone into COVID protocol. They have had 8 positive cases. But they revealed on Boxing Day night that they had 1 positive case for definite and 2 possible positive cases within the squad. As far as I'm concerned, both those games should not have gone ahead. Now, we do not know what the COVID protocol is for the elite because they've not published it. Because they've not published it, you then get a lot of speculation. Because you get a lot of speculation, you get a lot of hearsay, you get a lot of rumors, you don't get facts. Surely, for everybody's interest, the Elite League have to publish what their COVID protocol is. At the end of the day, we are fans who pay money to watch these games. Surely we have a right to know what the protocol is, which could call off games that we then can't go to. Surely that is the right thing to do. Now, Clan had to go into COVID protocol. They had 1 positive test, but that was because of the Scottish government rules, which is if you have 1 positive test, then everyone who was in close contact with you also has to isolate. So therefore, that I don't think that went with elite COVID protocol. I think that went with Scottish government COVID protocol, which will obviously trump the elite COVID protocol, understandably so. But I think this whole thing is a bit of a PR disaster. Both games went ahead. Both games were sold out at both venues, and it does seem that these games went ahead because money was put over safety. And that's the only conclusion I can come to. Unless they publish the elite protocols for COVID cancellations, and then everyone is in the clear because there's a bit of transparency. But they haven't. And because they haven't, that makes me suggest that, well, was those protocols stuck to with these two games? And I've seen a lot of heat go towards the Steelers, but obviously the Panthers have got to be culpable in this as well because they played both games, knowing what the situation was. And the and this is what annoys me because I said last week what a great job the Elite League were doing in cancelling games quickly, putting teams in protocol, getting things done as quickly as they could and as well as they could, and then something like this comes along and completely spoils it all once again. It's just so annoying and happens so often, and it's like two s- one step forward, two steps back all the time, and it just gets so annoying that it carries on this way. Excuse me. Um, what does Chris say? Would you yourself have gone to the game if you'd have been in a position do so, or would you have avoided it to make a point? Well, this is another situation because obviously you can get into games with a COVID passport. I didn't test positive till Monday, so I didn't go to the game, the Boxing Day game, because I was due to commentate at Manchester, but that game was obviously called off because of COVID as well. So, legitimately, I could have gone to the game on Monday in Nottingham with my COVID passport without having to do a test. I take a test anyway before a game because I just think it's the right thing to do. I took the test on Monday morning. It came up positive. I booked a PCR straight away, and that came back positive on Tuesday. So therefore, I didn't go to the game on Monday because I had a positive test. Thing is, I didn't have to do that. I could have just gone straight to the game with COVID and spread it. And this is the other thing that I think needs to be looked at with regards events, not just hockey, but all these sort of events. Surely a negative test should be the requirement to get into these sort of events rather than a COVID passport. Because you can still be. I mean, I've had both jabs. I've had a booster, and yeah, I've still tested positive for COVID. I haven't got much in the way of symptoms, which I put down to the vaccines and having the vaccines. But at the same time, I've still got it. But what worries me is I could have gone to that game had I not had done my own lateral flow test on Monday morning. And that's the thing. How many people went to the game without doing a test and probably may have been positive and have therefore spread it amongst the crowd? And I think this is something else that needs to be looked at and needs to have clarity on. So yeah, it's not good. Not good at all. What Jamie says, he says, it should be the same in the NIHL as well, concerning all the stuff allowing MK to play a whole weekend in November with half a team out. COVID protocol needs to be announced. Yes, I remember that. It makes a mockery of the clubs who have seemingly followed rules and enter protocols when required. Absolutely, it does. Andrew, what about the Matt Hayward situation at Clan? Yeah, that was frankly disgraceful. The way that he was treated by Clan, absolutely disgraceful. And I think good on him for putting a statement out and clarifying all that. Whereas Anthony, I know the Austrian league has very strict rules following what the government said: negative PCR and vaccinated to get into games. Yeah. Issue is, I could test positive, but what stopped me taking, say, my dad's negative test? It's nonsensical. Yeah, and that's another issue, isn't it? I mean, when you do a lateral flow, you have to fill in your own details if you even decide to tell the NHS app that you've done one and what the result is. If you're positive, what's to stop you putting that you're negative and going anyway? I mean, obviously that's a whole different moral issue, but it can be done. And that, I think, it is the big problem. It's a real mess. It is a real mess, and I don't know what the answer is. Let's have a look, see if there's Anyway, oh yes, Bob Mitchell King. He says, "Do we actually know what the EIHL COVID protocol is?" No, I think we just explained that, but no, it doesn't. Uh, does it apply to commentators? Well, I haven't seen the protocol, so I don't know if it applies to me or not. But obviously, I can't commentate at the moment. I was due to commentate on New Year's Day. And I got my positive test, and I was absolutely gutted because I was going to miss that. And then, literally 5 minutes after I got my positive test, it was Steelers went into COVID protocol, and it was cancelled anyway. So yeah, but I know Manchester are looking for another opponent to try and get a game going on New Year's Day. But there are so many teams going to be in a fixture backlog now. It's worrying, and it's going to take some real sorting out and some real top quality planning. Okay. In Belfast, to get into a game, we had to have it registered it with the NHS and show proof of the email. Anthony, it's like my lad has tested positive, but given I've had 3 jabs and negative lateral flow today, I could go to a game. Yeah. But to be honest, if you have a negative test, I'd be quite happy. I don't think there's too much wrong with that, to be perfectly honest. Chris again, Jono, why don't you sit at home and commentate from video and charge people £15 for the addition of your voice? Unfortunately, internet delays will make that an absolute nightmare. So I don't think that can happen. Had a tweet in from Dad Darrell. He says, "One game for check to the head for Dixon on Gibson. Appropriate. What's the consensus view of DOPS consistency?" Yeah, so Dixon of Cardiff getting a 1-game ban for a check to the head on Gibson of Coventry in their game. I think it was Boxing Day. Having seen the footage, I think 1 game is far too lenient. I think at least 2, maybe 3 was the right call for that. View on DOPS consistency. What consistency? I think is the best way to say that. 6 games for Andy McKinney in the NHL. Didn't Mikey Power also get a 6-game ban for check to the head, along with other additional bans for other offences? But it does seem to me that the NIHL or the EIHA are far more stricter when it comes to bans compared to the EIHL at the minute, from the outside looking in, certainly. Right. Let's go into a lot of these Panthers ones because there is quite a few. So if you're not a Panthers fan, the next bit may not concern you, or if you're a Sheffield fan, you may want to stay and laugh for a bit. It's entirely up to you. So Craig Bond, he says, "I think like a lot, what the hell is happening with Panthers? I get it's a really hard market, but we pay high season ticket prices to have to leave the arena in bad moods. Why is it not clicking?" Crooksy on Twitter says, "Do you think Panthers have been clever with their recruiting and playing games on Sunday? Cheaper ice?" No, I don't think so. I think the arena rental is the same regardless of what day of the week game is played on. Matt Alford, he says, "After listening to his interview that was released today, do you think Guy Doucette is the right man for the Panthers job? Sounds like he's doing his best, but maybe he just doesn't have the contacts that someone like Aaron Fox has to pick up new recruits. And with the wage cap in place, if we spend anywhere near as much as Sheffield et al. On, then someone has had our pants down. Although he did seem to indicate that we weren't as close to the top spenders as he'd like in that regard." I've seen lots of things about Panthers. I personally believe that Panthers' budget is way below that of playing budget. That is way below that of Sheffield, Cardiff, and Belfast. If anyone has time, go on Elite Prospects and just go through the roster of the Panthers and the roster of the Steelers and look at them side by side, and then tell me that you think that Panthers roster is anywhere close to the Steelers roster, 1 in quality and 2 in budget, because I don't think it's anywhere near on both counts. And I saw some Sheffield fans after the two games this weekend saying they think that the low budget is a lazy excuse. I really don't think so. Just take the time to look at the two rosters. I mean, Steelers have got two top quality netminders for a start, and the Steelers have just got quality just running through that whole squad. Panthers have very little quality in their squad, and I think that was supremely evident on Monday. I watched the game on Premier Sports, and they battled hard. I can't take the effort away from them, but there's just very, very little quality within that team. And I don't think it's a coaching problem. I don't think it's a director of hockey problem. I think it's the budget that has been given. Is it a wage cap or spending cap? There's quite a difference in taking housing into account too. Well, nobody knows, Rodney, because again, the league haven't exactly been transparent about it. Looking at the owners, thinking if the season goes, they won't lose as much money as Sheffield. That is a fair point, and I did have something else regarding that. Where is it? Do you think at some point that Neil Black will invest properly in the Panthers? Assuming it's a no, is there an appetite for fans to protest against his profiteering and poor ownership? That's from Anthony Thomas. I think fans are protesting in the way that they're just not going to games at the minute. And the attendances at the arena will hold that up. Attendances are well down compared to pre-COVID, where you were probably getting an average of 5,500. I reckon we'd be lucky. I reckon we're lucky if we're getting a 4,000 average at the minute. The attendances have been very poor from the games I've been to, which is sad to see. But with the quality on offer, it's not surprising. I mean, it breaks my heart. It genuinely breaks my heart. People know me. I am a very, very passionate Nottingham Panthers supporter. But it's very difficult, and Monday was very difficult to sit there and watch my team get absolutely ragdolled all over the ice by the Sheffield Steelers. It hurts. It hurts badly. And it's annoying seeing them have so much quality compared to us. And as Matt said in his question, if we are spending anywhere near the Steelers, then someone has had our pants down. I would agree, but I don't think we are spending anywhere near what the Steelers are. I like the idea of having a director of hockey, but I think maybe is it now time with what's happened to make Guy Doucette just the general manager and Tim Wallace the coach? I think that would probably be the right thing to do at the minute. Craig Woolley says, do you think Neil Black has just been calculated with money by giving Panthers and Clan a small budget for players, thinking you can ride it out till next season and not spend much on players in case the league shuts down? That way he's not spent a lot on wages, saving the cash for better teams next season. That was the question I was looking for from what you were saying, Andrew. So, yeah, it's... For one, I don't think Neil Black will be saving money for next season. And with the way the attendances are, I can only see the playing budget going one way, and that's not up. And I think more and more fans are going to leave, and more fans are not going to renew their season tickets. It's sad. I mean, it's really sad. And this is nothing against the players. The players try hard, they give everything, but there's just not the quality there to compete at. And that's annoying. We've got even though the attendances are down, it's the second best attendances. I assume we have the second best merchandise. behind Sheffield. Look, Sheffield are the best at, or have the most at all that. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. But why haven't we got the second biggest budget? And that's what pees me off, because we all pay our money. We all want to see our team compete, and they're not competing. Harvey Hay asks, who would you have as GM at the Panthers, and should a director of hockey role be disbanded just to have one all-round GM? Yes, I think it should. Example of Todd Kelman. Would be lovely if we could get Todd Kelman to move from Cardiff to Nottingham. I don't think that would happen. But I think it does have to be someone who has hockey acumen and also has business acumen. Now, I believe that Guy Doucette has business qualifications. So I think for a general manager role, why not give him that role? Because I think it's something he could probably do and do well. Let's have a look in. Reese Williams says, which, if any, imports make a case to be kept on beyond this season? Well, I know Jeremy Welsh will be here next season because he's on a university deal, but he's our top point scorer as well. So I think he's probably making a case to be kept. I actually like Brassard and I've forgotten the name of the other defenseman. Oh God, maybe getting brain fog now. So yeah, JC Brassard and number 12. Somebody help me out here, please. I've completely forgotten his name. I think Deming and Boyvan probably have a case for being kept on. But what? Norwich, thank you. Yes, appreciate that, Matthew. So yes, Brassard and Norwich, I think I would keep. Deming and Boyvan, Welsh obviously staying anyway. I think beyond that, not many. You've got to look at the team. How many of the Panthers imports do you think will get into the Belfast card? And if you come up with names that will, then yes, there's a case for them to stay. If you come up with names that won't, then they shouldn't stay. Because if they're not going to get into the squads of our rivals, why should they be in our squad? And that is the way that I think it's got to be looked at. However, that again depends on the budget next season. It all comes down to that. And that is the problem. So yeah, it's a difficult one. But yeah, it's just not a good time at the Panthers at the minute. Karen Wynne Jones has just sent in on Twitter. Maybe there's now a case for Neil Black to decide between the Panthers and Clan now and not spread the money. I think that's a very fair point, Karen. Is he spreading it too thinly between two clubs? The thing is, with the Clan having that arena contract now, do they actually now look to be the more profitable club? And I think they probably do, because that's going to make a massive difference to them. Massive. Because it gives them more earning potential, but not only that, they're running the arena, so they're not going to pay rent to themselves, are they? So that's going to be a bonus for them. So yeah, that's an interesting question, and I think you're right. He probably does need to choose one of the two. And to be honest, I think if he had to, he'd probably more towards the Clan than he would towards the Panthers at the moment. But then I do think the Panthers need a new owner, because I just think we need fresh ideas. So David Spence asks, why do some Panthers fans think bringing ex-players back would be the solution to our problems? Would said players get into the squads of Cardiff, Sheffield, or Belfast, for example? Yeah, I think with that is familiarity. It's familiarity with those players. However, like you say, would they get into the squads of Cardiff, Sheffield, and Belfast? And I think that this is the new critical thinking that you probably have to do. If you look at a player, look at would they get into the squads of our rivals? If not, then they shouldn't really be in ours. I think that was I think that's the fairest way of looking at it. What's that? Craig? Heard you was going to be the next gem. I certainly don't think so. Um, uh, Nor do I think I would want to be either. Um, you have to have a very thick skin. I do have a thick skin. I'm just not sure it's that thick to do that job. Uh, Andy Tring, as you know, I've said before, Panthers have a good team on paper. My question is, do you think or feel that they have got into the habit of losing? But if they win, it's a bonus. Losing is a bit of a habit, especially against our rivals. I mean, league-wise, big loss against Belfast, big losses against Sheffield. But 2 wins against Cardiff, or which is always the strange. But yeah, it's losing does become a habit, as winning can become a habit as well in sport. But yeah, it's a difficult one because I suppose it would have been interesting to see how they would have done tonight against the Clan, because the Clan are a bit of a bad run themselves. Obviously, that's been cancelled. Makes Friday's game against the Blaze very, very big now. Blaze are doing okay. Okay, they got beaten the other night, and I think they're pretty paper thin with their squad at the minute. So maybe now is a good time to play them. But I think Friday has become a huge game, and it's one that we absolutely must win. So there isn't many people that have the amount of money needed to fund the Panthers or any ice hockey team. I think that's the thing. I think with Panthers, with the crowds that you get, and I think Steelers are another one, that I think there is the opportunity to make a lot of money. That if you run them in that way, and I don't think there's any doubt that Neil Black has made an awful lot of money out of the Panthers in his 20 odd years of owning the club. But it needs the right person in charge. I totally agree with that, and it needs someone who probably has deep pockets to fund those early years. And like I say, it's not easy to find those sort of people. Dan Martin says, I'm sick of seeing our players bullied. It's embarrassing, and I'm falling out of love for this club. As long as they continue to sell seats, they're happy just to be average. It's not acceptable, and I'm just tired. I think a lot of people feel the same way, Dan. And if there's one thing that we desperately need, if the Panthers desperately need, is a someone who can stand up for the team. Take the weekend for an example. Jordan Kelsall shouldn't be fighting, and fair play to him for having a go. And he did have a go. But John Armstrong jumps him on Monday, and nobody steps in. Nobody. That's unacceptable. Can you imagine John Armstrong jumping Jordan Kelsall if Cam Jansen was on the ice or Brian McGrattan was on the ice? That's never going to happen. So why does a Steelers player think they have the right to jump a British player? And the reason is because they can get away with it, because nothing happened and there was no repercussions, and that is unacceptable. So yes, I agree with what you're saying. I think if there's a space in the squad, then Guy Doucette does need to be looking for someone who's probably not afraid to drop the gloves and has a bit of something about them. Matthew Toussignon, bless him, drops the gloves, but he ain't a very good fighter, and he's not really going to scare anyone. We need someone on there who is going to scare people to stop other players. Gags would have dropped. Yeah, Gagnon would certainly have dropped Armstrong. So yes, that annoyed me greatly as well. Okay, let's move away because I'm just depressing myself now, and we are moving on in time. Quite a nice question here from Scott at Rimwrongphil on Twitter. He says, how extensive is your jersey collection and what is your favourite one, if you have one, that is? Mine is a Zakachenko 88 jersey up in the 18-19 season with a great story behind it. I have a few game-worn Panthers shirts. Liam Stenton's from the Elite Series. I've got a Cam Jansen game-issued one. I've got Tom Norton from the season we won the league. And my absolute favourite is a David Beauregard game worn that I will not part with for love nor money, because that is my absolute favourite shirt. I've also got a Rick Brabant Panthers shirt from the 94-95 season, which is my favourite ever Panthers shirt. For those that know it, it's with the 3D Panthers face and the zigzags around the bottom. It's a lovely, lovely shirt. And then aside from that, I've got sort of my rec jerseys. My Nottingham Phantoms jerseys are very special because they retired my shirt when I stopped playing, which was a great honor. So they mean an awful lot to me as well. So yes, I've got quite a few shirts. Probably more playing ones that I played in with regards Panthers ones, but yeah, quite a decent collection. But no NHL shirts or anything like that. What's that? Interested if any thoughts on Finley Howells? Could you see him in an elite team? Give him a chance next season. Yes, I think that's a strong possibility. I see him in a similar mold to brain fog again. Cardiff, Josh Waller. Similar mold to Josh Waller. I think Finley Howells could come in and do a job. I think he might be on a two-way with someone, possibly Coventry. Rings a bell. I'll have to have a look at elite prospects and check when I finish. But yeah, he had a good tournament, didn't he, in the under-20? So I think he could be someone who will get a chance to take on him next season, certainly. Andrew, the John Smith sponsor. Yes, it is a John Smith sponsored shirt. Final question, unless there's any more come in. So Twitter at John O'Bullard, or just pop them in the chat there. Great to have so many people on and so many comments. So thank you very, very much for that. Andrew Axon asks, from your interactions with Gary Moran, what should he be remembered for by the Panthers? So for those that don't know, Gary Moran, the former Panthers general manager, sadly passed away on Monday of this week after a short battle with cancer. He was only 61 years old, so still very young. As most people know, me and Gary didn't exactly see eye to eye and clash quite a bit, but we did have times when we talked and we collaborated, and we certainly did a fantastic interview in the season the Panthers won the league, which is still on the Cats Whiskers YouTube page if you want to take a look at it. So a big 45-minute interview, which was really, really good, and I thought he came across really, really well. And it was good of him to do it as well. And he was very open, he was very honest, and we got a lot of questions answered. And it was a really, really good piece. And, but as to what should he be remembered for by the Panthers, I think no one can deny that Gary Moran was absolutely Panthers through and through. I don't think anybody could doubt that. Now, whether you agreed with him or not, and plenty didn't, and he certainly clashed with plenty of people, but he had an awful lot of love for the Panthers and an awful lot of love for the club. And at the end of the day, he was doing what he felt was best by the club. And he was very strong-willed and incredibly strong-willed, and he had the courage of his convictions, and you've got to respect that. So I think he should. If what he should be remembered for is his absolute love of the Nottingham Panthers and his love of Middlesbrough. Yeah, interesting story. When we were setting up that interview, and we met backstage at the NIC before we did it, and the first thing he said was, "Does anybody know what the latest Middlesbrough score is?" Just before we did it. So yes, he did have a love of Middlesbrough as well. So yes, if anything, he should be remembered for his absolute love of the Nottingham Panthers and his desire to see them do well. And very sad that he passed away from such a horrible illness as well. but I'm sure he will be remembered very fondly by those at the club. Okay, any further questions before I go and continue my isolation down here away from my family? Okay. I'll give you 30 seconds. Hopefully get another one of these done next week. Thank you to everyone who sent questions through, whether they be on Twitter or on the questions. We only have a show and we only have a decision if people send questions in. So if you do have questions for next week, please do send them through at John O'Bullard on Twitter or via DM on Twitter. The DMs are open all the time, so you can send them through there as well. I will pick them up and I will save them for the next show. And also, if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel, that would be great. And that way, we will never miss when we have one of these. I tweeted the T-Side media about Gary without any reply. Oh, that's a bit sad, Andrew. That really is. Because I'm sure he was remembered up there as well, especially from his journalist days. Yes, good guys. It's nearly New Year, isn't it? Yeah, Happy New Year. So the next one of these will be in 2022. Let's hope we have some games to talk about and we have some definitive decisions to talk about, and maybe even an EIHL protocol to talk about. What did you make of the Steelers tweet about the Panthers goal, which got reviewed on Boxing Day? Is that the one with the typical? All I can say about that is typical Steelers. Goal was given. You won the game. Quit your moaning. Is basically all I can say about that. Just shut up. It was nice to see the league get back at them. I know it doesn't look. It's not a good look for the league, but I suppose there's only so much you can take before you finally snap and have to have a go back. So there you go. All you can say really is, oh well, typical Steelers. All right, let's leave it there. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for sending questions in. If you are going out for New Year, do stay safe. If you're going to a game, do stay safe as well. And I will speak to you next week. Do you think there are any regular players that aren't cutting the grade? In what respect? The Prozac kid. Which regular players do you? Which team do you mean? But anyway, I think I'm going to have to cut it there anyway. Hope I get rid of the dreaded COVID. Well, let's hope so. I'm not really suffering with it. Let's be. I think Tetlo's doing okay. And let's face it, British players are a rarity. Our players, there's plenty who are not cutting the grade. But I don't know if he was on earlier, but I sort of mentioned you have to sort of look at our squad, especially the imports, and say, would they get into the squads of Sheffield, Belfast or Cardiff? And if the answer is no, then why are they in our squad? And that is as brutal as you got to be about it, because that's the only way that we're going to compete. And that's the simple answer to that one. Okie dokie. Happy New Year, everyone. Have a great time. Stay safe. And I'll hopefully speak to you again next week. But until then, take care and bye-bye.